which I believe is the greatest game Dak's ever played, even though it was a loss. The single best play of Dak's career and maybe the signature win of Dak's career, 40-34 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Not only locking up the playoffs, of course, because the Cowboys were locked for the playoffs before this game even started, keeping the slim NFC East hopes alive, but more importantly, a statement for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys that, all right, round one, you got us, but we didn't have Dak. Round two, we got you, but you didn't have Jalen. If we see each other in round three, we are ready. We can get sacked a half dozen times as Dak did yesterday. We can have a crushing turnover as Dak did yesterday, and we can still go hang 40 points. This game could have gone sideways so many times. And where I want to give Dak credit, and where if you're a Cowboys fan, you have to have an odd sense of optimism surrounding this team right now, is after throwing that pick six, when 2 weeks ago he damn near gave away the Texans game with terrible interceptions. Last week, he did give away the Jags game with terrible interceptions. And then a couple days ago, with the whole country watching on Christmas Eve in the game of the week, he starts it off with a terrible interception. To respond to that by completing 14 straight passes, to respond to that by throwing for over 300 yards, getting his legs involved once again, looking like a young Dak, and completing that 3rd and 30 to ultimately beat the Philadelphia Eagles, gives you the real reason for optimism if you're a Cowboys fan, which is, hold on. Have you seen the NFC quarterback roster? Hell, look at the Pro Bowl roster, which was Jalen, deserved but injured right now, and then Geno Smith and Kirk Cousins. And you look at the potential playoff quarterbacks. It's those three guys, throw in a Daniel Jones, potentially Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz, depending on who they're going to go to there. You've got, obviously, Tom Brady, who we'll discuss later in the show, but is for the first time in his career looking his age. And then you have Dak Prescott. Oh, yeah, and Brock Purdy, a rookie 7th rounder for the most talented roster in the league, but a rookie 7th rounder. And then you have Dak Prescott, 29 years old, coming off a season when they had the highest scoring offense in football. This year, with the offensive line finally getting healthy, with a defense that, while has been somewhat exposed over the last month, we know when it plays its A game, has top 5 in the league potential, and has a guy in Micah Parsons who's going to finish, I believe, 2nd in Defensive Player of the Year voting. I think Nicky Bosa, might have locked it up yesterday, and if he didn't lock it up yesterday, he probably should have. But you have top flight defenders at every single level. You are, oddly right now, one of the healthier teams in the conference. And you are the team that has been the conference juggernaut throughout the regular season. You've stared in the eye and hung 40 on them. And that is so for the Dallas Cowboys, this is their moment. We know they're going to be the 5 seed. We know they're going to be on the road in week 1, because I don't think they're going 2-0 and Philly's going 0-2 down the stretch and all of a sudden they steal the division. Just give them the 5 seed. They're on the road in week 1 of the playoffs, either facing Sam Darnold or facing what's left of the Tampa Bay Bucks. A good opportunity, by the way, for revenge against the Bucks, that week 1 19-3 embarrassing defeat. And then, in all likelihood, the following round, you are either going to Minnesota, a team you beat 40-3, or round 3 against Philadelphia. And I don't know how anyone who's being fair and honest about the Cowboys can't say this is their best chance to go on a deep playoff run, the best chance they've had since Dak's rookie season, when they got snake bit by what was at the time still a prime Aaron Rodgers in an all-time game. This is a team that's well documented, but has not been, forget a Super Bowl, to a conference championship game in more than a quarter century. The only teams in the conference with a longer conference championship game drought are the sad sack Lions and the embarrassing Washington Commanders, but previously not that team name, Washington football team. This is, get rid of the Odell stuff. Get rid of all the nonsense surrounding Jerry Jones and just the actual football team. It's got a healthier now, very good offensive line, 2 good running backs. CeeDee Lamb's not a superstar receiver, but a legitimate one, and a receiving core that the rest of the guys, from Brown, obviously Gallup, all of a sudden, dear God, that's T.Y. Hilton's music on the 3rd and 30. A defense that can, even though it hasn't much the last month, get after the passer, and a path in the NFC where you should have the quarterbacking edge in every game in the playoffs, except for against Philadelphia, and we'll see. Because Jalen Hurts' injury is to his throwing shoulder. And Jalen Hurts doesn't play defense, and you scored 40 on him. So, listen, I am not the Cowboys super fan and the Cowboys super hater corners of sports media are well taken. I am neither. And that's probably, honestly, not great for the old brand. Yeah, Cowboys got a lot of fans, and it's pretty smart business to either crush the Cowboys regularly or to pick them to go to the Super Bowl every year. I've done neither. I went into this year pretty neutral on the Cowboys. But I actually think a team that for the majority of the last quarter century has been overrated because of the brand has somehow become sneakily underrated. And they're going to go into the playoffs with the most experienced quarterback in the conference, aside from the 45-year-old, with a roster that, is it the Eagles roster? No, but they just hung 40 on them. And in a position where I think they've got to feel about as good about their chances this year as they have any time in the last, like I said, 25 years. Now to Philadelphia. Lane Johnson, it's being reported today, is out at least the rest of the regular season, and that seems optimistic. They said that Schefter said tendon in his stomach is torn, so he's out at least the next couple weeks. We'll see. That would obviously be a devastating loss for them. And when you look at the top of the conference, which to me there's clearly, I think San Francisco's the best roster in the league. I think San Francisco right now has good claim they are the best team in the league. They are certainly the hottest team in the league, but they have a rookie 7th rounder at quarterback. So you've got to have a but with them. I think they're the favorites. And when you look at how San Francisco and Philly would match up, if that were to be the NFC Championship game, if Philly were to get there, I'm very confident San Francisco is going to get there. Can Philly harass the passer the way that they have made their money all year against San Francisco? I don't know if they can. I don't know with Trent Williams, that offensive line, and most importantly, a diverse running attack that is going to try to keep you off balance the entire game and neutralize that pass rushers. I would be very nervous this morning if I were Philadelphia. I'd be very nervous that we're facing a potential round 3 against Dallas, that I do not know if that bodes well for them. I'd be very nervous that Jalen Hurts, who had been playing obvious, excellent football up until his injury, how is he going to respond to coming off a throwing shoulder injury? And I'd be very nervous that the guy who over the last 5 years has been the best player on our team, which is an odd position to have your best player, but he was your best player, superstar right tackle Lane Johnson, that he's now done, at least for the regular season, if not longer. And I understand they had a backup quarterback in, and you're not going to kill him for losing that football game. But they were in a position where had they been able to hold on to that double-digit second-half lead, they'd have everything locked up with 2 weeks to go. And you can, if you want to get creative with it, you could have rested people this coming week in week 17 and then played your guys in week 18. That way you still got to remove one game of potential injury off the schedule, but you're not going to have the super long rest where you rest guys in Week 18 and then you have the bye. Now you're not in that position. Now, if you want to be able to rest anybody, you got to win this week, and then you ask yourself the real question. Do we want Jalen to have not played in 4 weeks before the playoffs? And in the playoffs, who are we going to be facing in our first playoff game? Dallas for a round 3, that doesn't seem that attractive. If Tampa were to upset Dallas, listen, Tampa has a million flaws, but they are also the team that embarrassed this very Eagles team in the postseason last year. And if Tampa were to be playing you in round 2, you know what that means? That somehow they've gotten something right, and it ultimately is Tom Brady. Philadelphia, right now, to me, and I'm not trying to overreact to one game when they didn't have their quarterback, but they feel to me more likely to lose their first playoff game coming off the bye than they are to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. I think San Francisco would beat them, and I think Dallas has proven they absolutely can beat them.